All that good stuff. Oops. But other than that, not too bad. We did a lot of cleaning. By we did a lot of cleaning. My wife did a lot of cleaning. She's too good. All right, Simple Jack, what's going on, man? Have your baby? Well, I don't even have children myself, so until until I get that tested, might not be able to have your baby. Truth hurts. All right, let's get into everything. Y'all know the drill. We like to do a top-down approach, and we'll go from there. So last week, yeah, that was fun. We had a 2% downward move on the S&P 500. This was its fifth negative result of the past 7 weeks. So definitely some downward pressure there. The NASDAQ and the Dow also posted weekly declines. Earnings, we're starting to get more into earnings season as we approach this week. We got some big earnings from Microsoft and Google and Visa on Tuesday. Wednesday, we got Meta. Thursday, you got Amazon. And Friday, you got some big oil names like ZOM and CVX, and you got AbbVie thrown in there. So this week's definitely going to be a lot of earnings focused. Not to mention, we got some big economic data coming out this week with the third quarter GDP being announced, as well as our weekly unemployment claims, which continue to be quite, not what the Fed is looking for. And then we also have personal consumption expenditures, PCE. So it's going to be some interesting economic data points this week to coincide with the earnings blast off, so to speak. And speaking of earnings, they've been kind of, we'll call it ho-hum. Tesla wasn't impressive. Netflix did okay. They had, nice numbers to report off of. But for the most part, across the board, earnings have been subdued. And earnings, they've kind of been scaling back. And yeah, it's just been kind of meh so far, so to speak. And then for the most part, the market's just been in overall pressure. We hit 5% on the bond yields. That's definitely putting some strain on the market here for equities. Interestingly enough, gold has been doing pretty well over the past few days, few weeks. But down during the overnight session right now. China GDP has made a pretty strong comeback. China reported that their GDP grew at an annual rate of 4.9%, compared with the same quarter a year earlier. So they've done a pretty good job over there this past quarter for China. So good for them. But yeah, rates continue to be higher. The dollar continues to be resilient. We did have monthly OPEX this past week, which led to some further strains in the market. And yeah, here we are. Now looking here at the SPX, we'll go ahead and get into the nitty gritty here. We can see that, for the most part, we're still in this box, and I was making the comments last week, yeah, we're only down like 0.9%, then 1%, et cetera. I know all that adds up, but in the scheme of things, it hasn't been too much of a bloodshed, even though it might have felt that way because we've just seen relentless walk down days in the market off of the resistance level here at about that 4,400 mark on SPX. But now we're down here at the bottom of the range, right here at the daily 200. We'll see if we can build up some support as we retest these lows and as we closed on Friday, right there, right below the daily 200 simple moving average. Now, there are a few signals here that I am looking at. We can see that trend has been bearish, and we also have some negative thrust signals to the downside. So overall, things have been kind of gross out there. So we do want to be aware of those signals. And one of the things that, I am looking at on the weekly perspective, on the weekly charts, is that we're just coming out of a weekly squeeze here. The squeeze ran its course, and now we're just kind of resetting things up here. But one key factor here on the weekly is that we do have negative thrust here. And we haven't had that in quite some time since, was that March or so. So yeah, the signals are there for some downward pressure. And what I want to look for here when we go through these charts is, okay, is there any kind of pockets of strength out here? What is the broader market telling us? So looking here at the SPX, we can see that signals are more aligned for the bears than anything. The main thing that the bulls might possibly have here is a possible bottoming out. I wouldn't say bottoming out, but a possible reversal on the bonds, which we definitely we'll take a look at that in just a second. But for the SPX, we're right here at support levels at about the 4,200 mark. And if we can see some signs of reversals, that would be great. One thing that I also want to pay attention to is this put to call ratio. As you can see, the moving average is hanging out around at that one mark. So what that's telling me is that everybody and their mama are jumping into puts. The market is getting just loading up on the downward direction. And we know that the market is an equal opportunity dream killer, and when everybody gets too one-sided, that's when we do get these corrective moves within the market. So yeah, this is one part of the puzzle that I am looking at, and if we do get some sort of push higher, we could see ourselves in a nice short squeeze rally. But in order for that to happen, we kind of need to see some sort of catalyst. And can it come through earnings? Maybe if the big boys do report some good earnings, if Microsoft comes out and says they're killing it, or Google comes out and says they're killing it, whatever, we'll see. But as far as the macro picture goes, I don't really see anything. I don't see too much there. We know that the Fed is keeping up with their with how they are approaching the economy, and we saw that with Powell this past week. That was a fun day on, what was that, Wednesday? Just a lot of back and forth, and anytime he said net neutral rates, the market just went absolutely crap, and then he'd say something positive, and the market go crazy. But for the most part, we know that the Fed narrative isn't changing anytime soon, and the market's kind of had to deal with that. So as far as catalyst goes, there's what's on the table. Maybe seasonality, but other than that, maybe earnings. So maybe earnings can get us out of this downward pressure rut that the market is having. So I definitely want to keep an eye on the put to call ratio. It's just one part of the puzzle here. Everybody and their mama and their brother and sister is all piling up into puts right here as we get down to support levels. So I do want to see if this thing can push up. Now, granted, if we get above 4,400, then it's game on, in my opinion. But of course, there's going to be a lot of work to be done for us to even remotely get above 4,400. We need some kind of crazy move off of support here. But if we can get above 4,400, it's game on. But, we could see a nice little bounce here at about this 4,200. I would mark it all the way down to about 4,190 is our zone between 4,200 and 4,190. That's our general demand zone that I am looking at as far as the SPX goes. Now, if you want to translate that over into SPY, we'll take a look here at SPY. Yeah, it's the same chart, same graph. We need to get above 438. If we start to see a breakdown below 420, there's possible this retracement here down at 417. So there's about a 3-point move here. But of course, you got a lot of scary things out there. There's tons of headlines coming out day in and day out. They're all spooky and scary and ooh. So just stay focused to the charts. I've even seen people throw out there Bloody Monday. As of right now, looking at the futures, not really seeing it. Futures actually opened up positive here, up 0.2% on the S&P futures. The NASDAQ opening up at 0.25%. Of course, we're not in the cash market open just yet. So, but as far as the Bloody Monday goes, I don't really see it. I think the whole issue on Friday and this past week is pretty much just OPEX related selling. If we look at the bonds here real quick, ZB, and then we'll move on. But if we look at the bonds, the bonds have just been absolutely smacked in the face. And Friday, despite the market being down substantially, the bonds actually were positive in the green. So definitely want to pay attention to this if they can somehow reverse. This is an extreme downward trend. They've been absolutely frying up the 30-year. And, if we translate that over to the Qs, it's not the best thing in the world for the NASDAQ. And in comparison with the NASDAQ and the SPY, I know we talked about this probably about 2 weeks ago, the NASDAQ has a lot more room to fall than the S&Ps do. The S&Ps are actually finding themselves at a possible level of support, whereas the Qs still have a little bit of wiggle room to the downside, maybe towards 350. And you can see how far away they are from the daily 200 in comparison to the S&P 500, where the S&Ps were right there at its daily 200, but the NASDAQ is still well above it. So there's some interesting qualities here within the NASDAQ as we start to get into some of these bigger earnings. Now, as far as the NASDAQ goes, we've still had some downward pressure here, closing down at about 354 on Friday. We still got some wiggle room towards about 350. And yeah, there's not much support. It's like we kind of closed and almost in la la land here, but we'll have to see where things want to open up. I still think the Qs can possibly move down a little bit further, but it's pretty much the same story here. We've had a weekly squeeze fire off. It is now getting back into a new squeeze. We don't have that weekly signal here just yet, but as you can see, the daily signals are pretty much aligned towards the downside. In fact, if we look at the hourly, one thing that we can see is that on the trend here is that the red line can often act as resistance, which has been the case this past week, where the green trend, fast mover trend, came up to the slow moving trend and got rejected and moved lower off of that with negative thrust signals also. So the Qs, yeah, pretty relentless. Now, everything's pretty much going to be aligned in the same boat here. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but if you look at the IWM, small caps getting absolutely wrecked. They're more susceptible to higher rates for longer, etc. Now, we had this big support zone here at about that 170 mark. We broke down, and it looks like we're going to be heading towards that 162.85 mark next. And that would also put you at about -3 ATR on the weekly. So small caps continue to look pretty darn gruesome here. In retrospect, I mean, this is just a nasty trend. Every time you come up to the daily 21, daily 21 EMA, you get a nice little rejection here. And, the pops, they've been aggressive, not going to lie. Every time we do get some sort of pop higher, they do tend to be aggressive, which is just, uh, the results of a short squeeze rally. So we'll see if we can get another push back up, back towards 170. If we get a push back up to 170, trend is your friend until it isn't. And we've been dropping on high volume here. And yeah, look at this. I mean, negative thrust signals since mid-September there. It just keeps getting worse and worse for the small caps. Same for the Dow. We won't really look too much at the Dow because you can just look at the SPY as that proxy. But yeah, the Dow, same thing here. Has room to about 328.27. If you look at the equal weighted S&P 500, everybody's weighs the same. Apple's the same as Ford, etc. You can see that you are coming into the bottom end of the range. If you draw this line here, this has been a really broad-based range here between 156 and 135. You can see that we are coming back down into a support level here at about that 135, 136 level. But yeah, trend is pretty bad here. It's pretty beat up. You got negative thrust signals. You've had a rejection up here at the red line, and down you go on the hourly. And yeah, so where are the pockets of strength? And I'm going to challenge you to look at your charts and say, okay, where's some possible strength here? Is there anything out there that is looking bullish? And honestly, there's not much. We can go through lots of charts here, lots of sectors, and you're not going to find much. I mean, if you look at energy's stabilized. It's still trading within a box between 93.50. It has not broken out yet. And honestly, energy is usually the last thing to kind of break down. So energy being resilient is not too much of a surprise, but if it does want to break up, sure, we'll pay attention to it. But if we look at crude oil, which is down at the moment for the overnight session, it's just sideways. I mean, it's just really sloppy. You got a bunch of back and forth here at the moment. And if we get a break above 89.60 there, sure, we could probably play some upside. But like I said, we got some earnings from some crude oil names. If we take a look at the dollar continues to have some relative strength here. It's just kind of quieting down, though. It is starting to, it is in a mature daily squeeze. You do have this possible bull flag on the hourly that we can pay attention to. And you can clearly see it on the daily, though, too. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to draw that one out. So we definitely want to pay attention to the dollar. If the dollar does break out above 107, that is something that we want to be aware of. A higher dollar is generally a headwind for equities. And with this daily squeezes do tend to fire in the overall trend. And right now, if we look at that trend is green. So we'll see if this continues to push on higher. We can see that the signals have been positive since about August, late July there. So this has been on a completely bullish momentum run here for a while now. Now, granted, if I want to look here at the weekly time frame on the far left, I could argue that, we've had this weekly squeeze back here that started, when this thing started getting ramped up in July and August. It has officially ran its course here. Generally squeezes last about 8 bars or so. And if we count them, you can clearly see that we've pretty much run its course here. So is the weekly squeeze over for the dollar? Possibly, but we do need to see some dark blue bars here on the histogram to appear to pretty much confirm that weekly squeeze has in fact run its course. And if that's the case, sure, that could give us some fuel to the fire for the bullish case. But as it sits right now, until the dollar breaks, pretty much breaks down below 105, I would probably be still a little bit hesitant for longs. But as it sits right now, dollar's still sitting pretty. Yields, sure, they got beat up on Friday, but they're still hanging around 0.4 points shy of 5%, which translates to 8% mortgage rates. So yeah, not a good time to buy a house if you're out there shopping. But yeah, like I said, I challenge you to look at your charts, look at pretty much anything out there, and what are the signals telling you. And a lot of it should be telling you that we should be cautious, especially if we look at the VIX. The VIX is up here at about the 21 mark. It's starting to get nice and heavy. You got a nice little daily squeeze here working its magic, and we'll see if that daily squeeze does fire along. In fact, it also has a weekly squeeze here, looking to also fire to the upside with bullish thrust here. So volatility is definitely in, and we've gotten plenty of we've we've seen plenty of that over the past few days. Trading sessions, a lot of the big moves up, aggressive moves down. It's just been a lot of back and forth. Volatility, it's in. Get used to it. But yeah, let's see. Poppy Churro on YouTube says he got a Tesla long at 169.50, looking to take profit at 213. We'll take a look at Tesla. Yeah, I mean, volatility's increasing across the board, especially with the higher VIX and with earnings season in full force here. So volatility is definitely in. Those options contracts are going to be more expensive across the board. So, kind of be mindful of that too. But yeah, if we look at transports, I mean, transports, they're getting beat up. They lost support on Thursday. FedEx getting beat up is one of my favorite names that I was looking at going into last week. You can see that it does have this nice little bear flag that it is trying to break down out of. Looks like it wants to have a date with that daily 200 also. Uber, been kind of paying attention to that one also. This one has been not breaking down as much, but it's still teetering on the edge of falling down back to the daily 200. So I definitely want to continue to watch Uber. If we look at home builders, home builders have been very strong over the past several months. We do have this possible double top action on the weekly time frame, but look at the home builders. I mean, if you look at Lennar and whoever, I mean, these guys are just absolutely getting trashed and thrashed around. Breaking down below the daily 200 does not look good for home builders at all. If we look at retail, the XRT mainly just in a box, but for the most part, you got a daily squeeze with a downward trend and downward thrust. Does not look good there. We've already looked at crude oil. If we look at the semiconductors, SMH, now the Qs aren't really going to be going anywhere with the semiconductors misbehaving, and as you can see, the SMH ETF, you do have this downward move here. You do got some price support here at about that 140 mark, but do we have a date with the daily 200? We'll see, but I mean, this volume uptick has been pretty darn interesting. So SMH not really offering a whole lot here either. We can see that the green line is crossed back below the red. It's hanging out at the 50 line. We do have negative thrust here, not only the daily, but on the hourly. We can look at, let's see. Yeah, we can look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA is one of those names that, pocket of strength, but is this a possible head and shoulders pattern? We still need to break below the neckline, of course, for that to confirm. Now, if we start to lose 410, 400, then things can get really ugly really quick here for NVIDIA. So this is definitely one on my radar. I do hold some put butterflies here on NVIDIA. We'll see if that hits or not, but we'll see. There is this big gap here from 2 quarters ago on earnings. It's got a nice little gap there. We'll see if it wants to have a... We'll see if it has some sort of gap filler here. But yeah, I'm definitely watching this a possible breakdown on NVIDIA, but this 410, 400 should be pretty resilient here on NVIDIA. If we go to AMD, Mark Thomas, evening. I was waiting on the video with today's date. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mark. Yeah, I don't know why YouTube does that. I'm not too sure. For some reason, it likes to have like this. I don't know. I'll have to try to figure that out. But I actually noticed that a few weeks ago, and I just totally forgot to look into that. So I'll write that down to see if I can figure out why it does that. But yeah, if need be, you can always rewind here if you're kind of late. But AMD, same boat here. Like downward pressure here. It looks like it's got a date with the daily 200. Qualcomm still holding puts here, and Qualcomm, it did give me a little bit of a scare here on Thursday, where it had this big move to the upside based off of TSM earnings, because TSM had a nice little beat and even raised guidance on that. But that was all for nothing. QCOM closed back below our level and had a nice follow through on Friday. So I'm still looking for lower prices here. 106 is going to be the key here. On the hourly, it's been a lot of back and forth, so we have to zoom in to faster time frames to get an ideal. They do have earnings coming up in 2 weeks, so I'm looking to get out of that position before earnings, of course, but we'll see what happens as far as Qualcomm goes. But still sitting pretty on it. Those did close green. We'll see where it takes us this week. Now, if the market does get a nice little bounce, we'll have to see if we have to play some defense there or not. But yeah, nasty close there on Qualcomm. But yeah, as far as the sectors go, like I said, you can kind of go through them real quick. XLB getting absolutely trashed, but you're coming down to a support level here at about that 75 mark. But yeah, this is pretty nasty. You got a daily squeeze, negative trend, negative thrust. Everything looks aligned to the downside here on your builders. If you look at communication sector is actually holding up somewhat well. We did get our first close below the daily 21. So we'll see if we get any follow through on that. And I definitely want to pay attention to the communication sector, because we've already had Netflix earnings, which they did pretty good overall and is holding well compared to the rest of the market. So yeah, Netflix looks like it could, if we want to see any kind of upside here, I'm going to remove these. Let me just remove all these drawings. How about that? So if we want to see some continued upside on Netflix, I want to see it break above these highs at about 410. And then once you get above 410, you pretty much have a date with about 440, 450. So I definitely want to pay attention to Netflix this week for sure. If we look at Google does have earnings this week, and we all know that Google absolutely crushed it on their last earnings report. I mean, there was nothing. I mean, their earnings report last quarter was pretty darn flawless. If we look at their earnings grid here, we gapped up about 6.5% or about 8 points. The market maker move going into Google earnings is going to be plus or minus 6.5. That does seem kind of low to me. So we'll see. That would put you at about 129 or 145-ish. Well, 6.5, so that's 142-ish from this closing period. So we'll see if Google outperforms yet again and has another slam dunk. We can see these past 2 quarters have been quite impressive. So yeah, I'm looking for a nice little bullish beat again on Google. But yeah, the communication sector, not too bad. But like I said, my favorite players here are definitely Netflix and Google. Let's see, we can take a look at financials with the XLF. Yeah, Larry, we'll take a look at Apple for sure. Yeah, financials getting smacked in the face. You could say we're kind of breaking down below support here. You did get this gap fill at about 32.10. And then if we go to the KRE, the counterpart, which are your regional banks, we can see that the KRE is breaking down also. Now, one thing that I want to point out, and this was one of the patterns that I was looking at as far as the KRE, we had this nice little inverse head and shoulders play out. We just needed to break above the neckline at about 49.42. Obviously, you've had this nasty rejection here. And usually when you have failed opportunities to break out of a pattern, you have these aggressive downward moves. And yeah, interestingly, nobody's talking about the regional banks. It's kind of quiet. You know, regional banks have been absolutely bludgeoned to death, whatever that phrase is called, bludgeoned to death. Correct me if I'm saying that wrong. And it's had a nice little comeback, but you know, everyone's kind of quiet and not talking too much on this. But yeah, regional bank is getting slapped. Truist Financial, one of the big players here, they reported earnings. You can see it's teetering on support there. You got PNC. That one's just breaking down also. You have WAL. Bleh. I mean, you had earnings from JP Morgan, not a regional bank, but we're going back to the XLF. This one's getting smacked down. You got Goldman Sachs getting smacked down also. I mean, all these guys just getting absolute hit. Now, Burt B hasn't reported earnings yet, and this is actually one of my darlings of the year. And you can see that it is giving back some here. Now, I'm not anything other than long-term shares here, but as far as Burt B goes, it looks like you got a date here with the daily 200, especially now that you've broken down below this 342 level, and you couldn't break above the daily 21 at 350. So it does look like we do have a nice little date here on the daily 200 as far as Burt B goes. So financials, absolutely no pockets of strength there, it seems. If we go to the industrials, most of them are reporting in these next 2 weeks. In fact, most of the S&P 500 will be reporting in these next 2 weeks. But as you can see here, nothing good to say about the industrials. You got, you know, a little bit of support here down about the 98.30, 99 level, filling this gap. And it just, I mean, industrials just look like absolute dog crap here. So, yeah, not too good. UNP, you got Honeywell, General Electric, all those guys. UNP released their earnings, gapped higher, gave it all back. Let's see, you got General Electric. General Electric's been one of those strong names throughout the year. You can see that it is slowly rounding, giving you some kind of rounding top here, just slowly kind of quietly giving it all, some of it back, not all of it for sure. It's got a long ways to go before it gave all that back. You got Honeywell. Honeywell, obviously not much of a market participator here. It looks like this thing wants to retest 179. Yeah, UPS too. There's another one. Industrials, yeah, just nothing too good here. You got earnings coming up this week here also. UPS looks like it wants a date with 150 again. So yeah, like I said, I mean, you can just keep going on. XLK, pretty much the Qs, same thing here, starting to roll a little bit. And you got your big boys, Apple, yeah, just quietly doing its thing here. You tried to break above. You actually had this nice little gap fill towards 182, and since then you've pretty much rolled back over on decent volume. It looks like you might have a date with the daily 200 here as well. We could put some Fibonacci retracements here from the swing low to the swing high. There you go. Yeah, 170. I like this confluence here. Yeah, 170 to hold for Apple. That'll be your 382 retracement as well as your daily 200. And you got some price support here as well. So 170 looks like a big area to hold on Apple if we ever get to it. If we look at Microsoft, this is your other major player. Microsoft does report earnings on Tuesday. We want to pay attention to that. Of course, if we look at the prior earnings report, they did okay. Let's see. Let's pull that one up. Yeah. Actually, yeah, Microsoft earnings were kind of bleh. So down about 3%, down about 10 points on the earnings report. And since then, it's just been trading relatively quiet. It's got some ground to cover as far as their cloud services and their Azure, all that good stuff. So definitely want to pay attention to Microsoft going into earnings. I think, as far as everything goes, it's had a decent run off of the lows at 308 to about 340. That's a decent little move. So I think the move is I think they've done what they could here for Microsoft pre-earnings, but we'll see. I don't have any skin in the game here other than some long-term shares for Microsoft. Yeah, other than that, I don't think I'm willing to take a bet here on earnings for Microsoft, especially since they did kind of poorly. If anything, I'd probably be looking at a earnings play on Google. Maybe even a 150, maybe not a 150 call, but maybe something further dated, like for November on Google. I might take a look at that, especially if we bounce tomorrow. I think that could be an interesting play going into the week. All right, so yeah, XLP is trash. No one cares. Defensive names, XLU, also garbage. Hot water, no one's playing them. XLY, that contains Tesla and Amazon. Tesla reported their earnings, got smacked down. XLY breaking below the daily 200. Tesla here, of course, having a really tough go. Closed below the daily 200, and I'm just sitting here going, well, where's possible support? You might have some support here, actually. Let's draw that out. It's on the weekly chart. Yeah, right about. It's not much, but you got a little bit of something here. Can they hold this and push it back higher? But if it looks like we want to break down, I mean, there's really not much until you get to about 170, 150 zone. So Tesla, it's kind of at a do or die pretty much. I mean, look at this. I mean, that's your next spot, 155. If she can't seem to pick up the pace here. Amazon. Hello. Keyboard stopped working there. Amazon also reports this week on Wednesday. Yeah, that'll be a good one too. But it's also kind of teetering on support here, so we are at that interesting spot where we could bounce or we could just absolutely fall all the way down to the daily 200. Let's see how they did on their past earnings report. Do I think Tesla can test that 180 level? Yeah, if it breaks down. Think of it as an if this, then that mentality. If it breaks down, then you're going to the next level. All right, so Amazon had a nice gap up on their previous earnings, 9.43%, or up 12 points. Let's see what their expected move is. Market makers are pricing in an 8-point move here on Amazon, so that puts you at about 133 or 117. That would kind of put you back down to this level here at about 113.92. Yeah, with all the, I don't know, we know that consumers are still being pretty resilient. Yeah, so we'll see for sure. This one could be an interesting one too. I'll have to see what happens here. I still think Google's probably the more fun one, but Amazon could be interesting too, especially with that nice little beat last quarter, and their cloud services did phenomenally well. But as you can see, the past 3 quarters were kind of naughty. All right, so Amazon, let's look to see if we get a hold of this 124, 123 zone. And if we do, you're looking for a bounce back up to 135, which would be almost aligned with the market maker move. So a little interesting there for Amazon. And then, of course, you have the XLV healthcare. Nothing too special here. So again, I ask you, where's the possible strength? It's not really much in equities. Bitcoin's pretty interesting. I don't know if y'all are paying attention to crypto, but hello, Bitcoin. So I might try to do something here with crypto names. Coinbase, we'll see what happens. But of course, Coinbase is kind of annoying. It's pretty muted with Bitcoin moves, if you ask me. Usually my favorite go-tos are Riot, Mara, and Hut. But the market's just in a crappy spot anyway. Look at Riot just hanging on by a thread here at about that 8.5 mark. Let's go to Mara. We'll see what some of these crypto guys are looking like. Yeah, if we get a nice little gap up over this trend line, that could be fun for Mara. My last crypto play was Mara. We had this nice little breakup over this line. I must have deleted all my levels there. But yeah, we played the breakout here on Mara last go. Yeah, this is where we played that. We played that 1065 break. Had this nice daily close. I even grabbed shares of Hut when that previous breakout occurred at 249 here. Now, granted, all these guys are pretty much quiet. MSTR too. Ooh, this one probably looks the best. Look at this daily squeeze. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Daily squeeze, decent trend. Just need to see an up candle, but this one could be fun. Now, as far as MSTR options go, they're generally on the pricier end. Usually with MSTR, go with a spread. Let's see. Let's see if we do like yeah, let's see, where's the most participants? Yeah, it might just be better to grab some shares if you want to. Maybe try a 400 call for November. Even still, those are going for about $9, and if we gap up, that'll be even more. But even still, MSTR, this is probably your best looking crypto name out there in comparison to the rest of the guys. I know Coinbase is probably the most popular, but until Coinbase at least gets a new slightly higher high here, you could argue, well, you might have this nice little wedge here trying to play out. If you do get a breakout above here, sure, you can play that to the possible upside. That could be interesting. But yeah, Coinbase, arguably, generally not my favorite. I know we play it every now and then, especially if you're playing with Duke. I think Duke likes to play coin. If it's going up and it's got a nice trending move, it looks good. But as far as Bitcoin goes, this looks pretty fun. You got a nice little break above 30K finally. This we tried at one point last week, failed miserably. Now we're finally picking up steam here. So yeah, I want to pay attention to the Bitcoin. All right. Other than that, let's see Roblox. I want to talk about Roblox here for a second. Not RBL semicolon. RBLX. Now, looky. You got this interesting setup here. Is she going to reject? Where's Rather? I think Rather pays attention to Roblox a good bit. Is Rather in here? Yodel, if you're in here, Rather. Guess he's not in here. Dang it. I was hoping for some yodeling. We could reject, of course, on this gap down from the prior earnings, but man, this thing looks like it'll be fun if it can break above 3250. Break above 3250, your target's going to be this daily 200 at about 36. I'll probably take some profit here at 35. We can also do a measured move here. Let's see. Where's my... There we go. Let's see. Let's do a... Just do a measured move here. We can do it there. Ooh, that lines up perfectly. Yeah. 36, that's 618. That would be your first measure move. Of course, the full measure move would put you at 40. So basically, what this is doing is it's measuring this low here at 2488 and 3245. So what is that? That's like an 8-point move, and 8 points plus 32, that puts you all the way up to 40. So that's where this 100% level is. That's your measured move for Roblox. So yeah, I think Roblox could be an interesting one. You got earnings coming up on not this week, but the next week. That one could actually be fun. All right, so I like Roblox. I like Google as far as an earnings idea. Other than that, I'm going to be mainly paying attention to the key indices here. The SPX. Yes, he did yodel. Yeah, but for the most part, everything's kind of weak. It's I wouldn't say it's do or die, but it's getting close to that point, especially with the heightened VIX. The VVIX, the VVIX is also pushing higher. The volatility of volatility index is pushing. Bonds continue to get slapped and punched in the throat. Am I advocating buying Roblox? I'm advocating if it breaks above 32.45 to possibly go long. I mean, it's totally up to you, but I do not have a current position. Audio mania, but that is a good question. No, I do not have any skin in the game on Roblox yet, but this is a key level that I'm looking at. If we do get a nice little breakout above 32.45, I will look at going higher. Do I have any positions in anything? Yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. Let's see. Yeah, I got positions in long term. I got some short term contracts. I play a lot of SPX. Let's see, what else do you want to know? Would you like my favorite color? It's green. Yeah, so yep. Other than that, what else do we want to look at? Audio Mania, if you want to know my positions, you can join the Discord. Otherwise, that is for me to know and you to find out. Mwahaha. Yeah, join the Discord and I'll let you know. So I have none. No, I have positions. Audio Mania. If you wanna fight me, then you can move along because I'm not gonna waste my time with you. Stepfon's your favorite color is green too. Nice. All right, so as far as everything else goes, we just want to see where things go, especially with the market being at possible support levels at about that 42.16 mark. If we happen to bounce, is it going to be aggressive enough to spook bears? I'm kind of thinking not for the time being. Like I said, there's no real catalyst for the bulls to really work with other than earnings and the possible idea of the dollar also breaks down. So it's all going to be very technical based from my perspective. So we'll see what happens as far as everything else goes. What do I think about Sedge and end phase? Yes, Sedge for sure got absolutely demolished here on earnings reports. And yeah, I'm not going to be the one to try to catch a falling knife here with this earnings report. I mean, they got absolutely destroyed here. And I mean, as you can see on my levels here, couldn't break out. And you got that nice little breakdown below 198. Yeah, probably not going to play anything with Sedge. End phase, same thing, rolling over with Sedge. I think Solar is it's just not the play, it's just not the play. Run also nothing too great. Yeah. Audio, I have open positions in Qualcomm. I got some positions in Nvidia. I also have long terms in Microsoft. A lot of the tech guys. A lot of blue chips. I got long terms in Berkshire, Berk B, not Berk A. Let's see. As far as like swings goes, not a whole lot of open swings at the moment just because of the market volatility. It's just been a lot easier to day trade. So I've been doing a lot of day trading as opposed to swing trading. Now, if the market does want to get better and more swing friendly, then sure, I'll take on a lot more swings. Now, I'd much prefer swing trading as opposed to day trading, but I've had to switch gears just because of the volatility and there's been quicker moves. So it's just been much better for me to day trade. Now, once the market does shift gears, then yeah, I'll be more comfortable putting on more swings. But as of right now, my swing positions are very light. So I will give you that much. So yeah, as far as Qualcomm goes, yeah, I'm looking for a move towards 106 audio. Currently in a buy around 32 call. Oh, there you go. On Roblox. Last question. MBYL. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. MBYL. All right, so this looks like a newer issue. Not too sure. Let's see. Doesn't even want to load the data unless my internet's going to poop. Let me see. Let's go to, let me see. Make sure. Okay, there we go. What was the ticker? MBYL. Alrighty. Now, as far as this goes, yes, newer issue. Now, for me, when I'm playing newer, I mean, what, this thing's 13 cents. Am I looking at the right ticker? Suave. Do, 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 do. I'll wait for you to respond there. Just realized the YouTube title was not correct. Oh, it's not right on the Twitch either. That's so annoying. It is not. August 10, 22, 2023. There we go. All right. I skipped over your question. Oh, I'm sorry, Suave. Yeah, we'll take a look at it. MB. Oh, okay. MBLY. Yeah, we'll go back over to the SPY. All right. MBLY. Let's see. All right, so we got 33. I mean, this is sideways. As sideways can be, if not lower. You're below the main moving averages. You got earnings coming up this week too. Downward thrust. Weekly looks to be in a little bit of a mess. Yeah. 46.17. And then we got 33 here. As far as that goes, yeah, that nice little trap there 2 quarters ago. Yeah, if you start to break down below 33, your measured move here is going to be, we'll just pull it down here to about 26. Yeah, 26 is probably what you're looking at. If you 26 to 21, if we break down below support, that would also put you at -3 ATR on the weekly time frame. Yeah, not too familiar with this one, but yeah, most part just sideways. at possible support here. But if you break that down, support is support until it isn't, and then you lose that. All right, and then the question was, how do I feel about SPY? Yeah, same as earlier. Is at the bottom end of this range here, 438, 440, and 420. The zone here is about 420 and 417. If we start to lose that, then you just buy shorts, buy puts, short the rip. Yeah, doesn't look too good if it breaks down by any means. And then of course your measured move would be pretty much a move back down to like 410, 400. So that would not be pretty. So I definitely have this highlighted here, this 417 mark to 420. That's your support zone. If you break down, then it looks pretty nasty. Am I strictly? No, I'm not audio. I do a lot of, like I said, I do a lot of day trading. I do some swings here and there, especially with the quick movements of the market. Breaking down this week or chopping around and then breaking down lower. Yeah, we'll see. Especially with these key earnings reports. Audio, if you want to check us out, stockdads.com. Feel free to give us a look. We're on Facebook, Twitter, etc. We don't stream too much on Twitch. Our main guy that does stream on Twitch, if you want to check him out, is Ace of Trades. We've been doing a small account challenge with his account. We started at 1,000 and we're at 6,000 on that, and it's all documented and it's all live and captured. My trades are also live. Amar's also with us. He's been doing a challenge. What has Amar's been doing his challenge? What did his close out at? His started out at 5,000. His current balance is 20,000, and that is also done live and everything like that. So it's all out. We are an open book, my friend. Do I trade futures? No, I like to sleep. Yeah, I don't do futures personally. We do have some futures trading. I know there's been some more people that have been joining lately that want futures, and we actually did a poll like a long time ago. We'll probably have to redo it to see where everybody stands, to see if we want to do a futures trader. But I know some of the guys do it. I personally don't, just because when I'm done for the day, I'm done. I don't do anything for the futures personally. Plus, my wife would probably be mad at me. So I just stick to the cash market for myself. Alrighty. Any other questions? Concerns? Interesting stories? See, Friday. Let's see, I'm going to the game opener for the Hawks. Front row tickets. Yes, sir. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Let's see, we'll probably have to leave kind of early for that, just so we can stay out of Atlanta traffic. Other than that, any questions? Yeah, we're basically right at support levels. We'll see if we get a bounce. Do I think the banks are fine? Is there one that you're looking at in particular, audio? When I look at the XLF in general, just the financial sector, it looks pretty gross. I'm not gonna lie. Schwab's been a favorite, especially Chris. I don't know if you're familiar with our long-term guy. He mainly does long-term shares and all that kind of good stuff. Schwab is has been. I don't know if he's still. I'll have to look to see if he's still in some Schwab. But Schwab, yeah, this looks kind of yucky to me. You got the sloping downward moving averages. My trend oscillator is pointing lower. You got negative thrust signals here too. It does look like it's trying to base out here at 50, but if you lose 50, I think you go back to 45. Now, if I want to be bullish again on Schwab, I'm going to need to see a break back out above 60. And that kind of goes back into the analysis with the KRE, with the regional banks. Regional banks right now are quietly going down. Not too sure what's going on. I guess people are still not too happy with the way things are going. And, you had this possible inverse head and shoulders pattern play out that got rejected at the neckline. But I mean, if you look at Schwab, like as far as like a fundamental approach, I mean, Schwab's books look pretty good in comparison to a lot of the banks out there. So Schwab getting beat up is kind of disappointing. But yeah, if we lose 40 with that 50 level, then yeah, you're talking about a move towards 45. Yeah. Didn't they? I have to go back. I'm pretty sure their deposits were actually increasing. Did I go over the TQQQ? There's not really a need to go over the TQQQ because it's a leveraged ETF. I mean, you just might as well look at just the QQQ in general. I mean, this is just the same thing here. There's your downward pressure here. There's that. You're just in a downward channel. Ugly, ugly. If you look at the Qs, yeah, if you're going to trade the Qs, just base it off of the indexes. What sectors are on the rise? Not much. Not much. I mean, energy is looking okay. Communications are okay. But anything, and Bitcoin, if you want to call that a sector, Bitcoin looks good. Not insolvency and a force by like a yes, SIVB. That was fun. Uranium. Usually when I look at uranium, I just pull up URA. URA. I haven't looked at this in a while. Let's see. Yeah, I haven't looked at URA in forever. All right, so we had this nice little move to the upside with the rest of the market. You got +3 ATR on the weekly, pulling back to the 21. Yeah, it looks like you're just trying to digest here. I mean, momentum is starting to shift. I think I'm probably a little bit neutral here. Let's see. Let me see where this is at. Ooh, you're holding right at that 24.5, 382 level. I don't really see much here. I like that. Actually, if we get a breakout above 26, that looks pretty fun. Let me see. You got, let's see, what's a good, let's see, I know you got next gen. What about Cameco? CCJ. Yeah. Let's take a look at CCJ here. Ooh, there we go. I don't mind CCJ if we want to do the uranium idea. That could be an interesting one. Let's see, we got earnings next week, it looks like. Yeah, you're holding up pretty well here. That's been a nice little run. Let's go ahead and line that up. Oh, and you held 35 there too. Yeah. So CCJ, not bad. Let's see. You got BHP. I think that's another one. Don't like that one. Let's see. UEC, Uranium Energy Core. This one's not bad either. You got a nice daily squeeze here. Ooh, I like UAC. I think UEC might be a good one too. Yeah, good shout. Good shout. Yeah, I might have to keep an eye on those. UEC. Cigar Lake is pretty good. I don't think I'm familiar with that one. What's the ticker for that one? Or am I just being dumb? I don't think I'm familiar with that one. Yeah, UEC is pretty good. Oh, okay. I gotcha. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, CCJ, UEC. I think those look pretty juicy. Does UEC have good options? Or are we talking about shares here? Oh, they're stupid cheap. Oh, because it's a penny stock. I might have to buy some shares. Might have to do some shares on that one. All right, I'm gonna write that one down for the list for Monday. All right, so I'm watching. Okay, we'll add that to the list. UEC. If we're looking at Bitcoin, I like MSTR. If your favorite is Coinbase, check out Coinbase. When I day trade, which time frames do I mainly look at? I do a 15, 5, and 1. Those are my multiple time frame analysis that I use, 15, 5, and 1. Sometimes I'll go to the 3, but for the most part, I stay on the 5 and 1. All right, we are at an hour, so I don't want to. What's the bull case for Bitcoin? Yeah, let's go back to Bitcoin. Bitcoin breaking out above 30K. This was our level that we rejected off of last week. If we get a nice little close above it, I am looking for 32. And then, of course, if we get above 32, that would be extremely bullish here. So what I'm looking at here, nice little move on the key moving averages. You got a daily squeeze firing long. You got pretty good thrust signals here. So all in all, not bad. I would just like to see a daily close above 30. If we move a move here above 30, then a possible move towards 32. So we'll see. Did they find a use case for Bitcoin after 15 years finally? Debatable. Yeah, definitely not NFTs, right? And remember that phase of the market? Jesus. What's the bull case for Bitcoin without the TA? I don't do the fundamental. No, they're not NFTs, but you can buy NFTs with Bitcoin. I guess you can buy it with US dollars too, but valid point. Valid point, sir. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe war is good for Bitcoin. Generally, I stay out of the crypto world. It's not my thing, other than the technical analysis side. Yeah. I can point you in the direction of our crypto people, but it's just not my cup of tea. But as far as everything goes, 30K, you got a good level here. Not too bad. Alrighty. Oh, y'all are welcome. Thank y'all. All right, it is 10 o'clock. I like to leave it there. Let's see. As far as tomorrow goes, nothing too crazy. As far as the economic calendar goes, we do have the S&P Global No, that's not tomorrow, is it? No. Yeah, tomorrow's pretty quiet. You do got the 3 and 6 month bill of auctions. That shouldn't do anything to the market. No Fed speakers tomorrow, which is nice. Things don't get hot and heavy until later on into the week with the GDP and PCE data coming out. There are a few Fed speakers from what I could see. Let me double check. Yeah, I think we're good. It does say Fed Chair Powell speaks on day was that Wednesday, but it's after the market. You do have ECB President Lagarde speaking on Wednesday. That could do something, but it's at let's see, what time was that one? 1300 hours, so middle of the day. Yeah, and then we got the big earnings that we reviewed earlier, so we'll see what happens. But I appreciate y'all hanging out. Tesla dropped 10%. Yeah, they did. They did. Yeah, Tesla's in a hard place right now. All right, I appreciate y'all coming out and hanging out. I know there's a lot of places you could be tonight. You could be watching football, could be cuddling, whatever you want to do on a Sunday night. But you're here with me, so I appreciate that. I'll be live trading tomorrow with Ace. If you want to join us, we'll be doing that. Audio, I appreciate you hanging out with us in Twitch land. Thanks for the tough questions. Sorry for the misunderstanding earlier. But we will be back at it tomorrow morning for sure. We'll hopefully get our hands dirty on some trades. We're looking forward to that. We had a good week last week. Accounts are looking good. Small accounts looking good. Amara's challenge account's doing good. We had some good winners on my end last week. So yeah, we'll be back at it again tomorrow morning. And I will see you guys then. I'll post my watch list in my channel as well. And we'll be at it. All right. Have a great night. See you in the morning. Bye, guys.